This is Mount Fuji, and this is me, about as far from home as I could possibly get. But I am just one of over 1.4 million people per year that travel across the globe for the sole purpose of visiting iconic locations from anime. Yeah, hello and welcome back to Kinda Neat. Today we're gonna take a look at Japan's secret weapon. No, anime tourism, or more specifically, Seichi junrei, pilgrimage to a sacred place. But we're not talking about temples or shrines, we're talking about the most sacred places of them all. Anime locations. If you don't already know, just about every single frame of anime, within reason, is a meticulously accurate recreation of a real place. But it wasn't always this way. If you want a full history of anime realism, you can watch this video here. But the recap episode is that it all started in the 1980s when anime like Ninja Hattori-kun and Captain Tsubasa started to ground their stories in reality by featuring real towns and landmarks. Although nowhere near as realistic, this still worked as a form of indirect marketing for Japanese tourism. But it wasn't until 10 years later that the full potential of anime tourism was realized. In 1991, an OVA called The Ultimate Esper R was released, which took place in a small town called Ijima in Nagano Prefecture, which if you were to visit today, you'd find a stone monument that reads, "The Birthplace of Anime Pilgrimage." Every year, Ijima hosts an event where over 100 people from around not only Japan, but the world, gather to recreate the climactic scene from the anime by attempting to bike the over 20-kilometer journey from Tagiri Station to Ina City Station in under 1 hour. When you think about how much time, money, and effort was spent because of a single OVA released over 30 years ago, it becomes obvious just how powerful a tool anime can be at reinvigorating a small town's economy. Although Ultimate Esper R is technically credited as the birthplace of anime pilgrimage, the idea didn't hit its first explosion of popularity until a year later when Sailor Moon found international success and showed fans around the world the wonders of the Tokyo metropolis. Other anime quickly followed suit, perhaps most famously with Slam Dunk's iconic rail crossing, which still to this day will have you waiting in line to recreate the scene. Although prior to this, I'm sure fans would occasionally travel to find locations from live action films, books, and manga, they really just aren't as conducive to this sort of fan interaction where it feels like you're stepping into the world of your favorite stories. Because the settings of traditional media have all been fabricated compared to anime, where the artists try to capture reality as they see it. The next wave of popularity came in 2007, when for the first time, the anime's producers teamed up with the local government to intentionally encourage fans to make the pilgrimage. Lucky Star, set in Saitama Prefecture, cleverly used events, merchandise, and decorations to instigate a huge spike in new visitors to the famous shrine from the OP. It's said that the scenery of Washinomiya Shrine and the shopping district around it has changed completely since the anime's release. At the same time that all of this was going on, Kyoto Animation's other anime, Haruhi Suzumiya, was garnering an incredibly large and dedicated fan base that were more than happy to make the pilgrimage to the home of the SOS Brigade. And according to the school's website, they were seeing over 300 visitors per day, which I'm not entirely sure how that's possible, but who am I to underestimate the power of weebs? And that brings me to society's main criticism of anime pilgrimage: vandalism, which in my opinion makes less sense than the end of Evangelion. Did someone break into the school and in Sharpie write SOS on the ground? Yes, they did. But when you have 300 people per day visiting somewhere, chances are some of them are gonna suck. Anime, being the thing they have in common, has nothing to do with it. But that's not to say anime pilgrimage is not without issues. Since you don't need a permit to go outside and draw a picture, anime creators can pretty much borrow locations from anywhere they please, which includes businesses, elementary schools, and your mom's house. Seriously, your sweet old unsuspecting Japanese mother could find herself dealing with hordes of anime fans
何この行列。
Oftentimes, communities won't be given a heads up when an anime is going to feature their public spaces, so they'd be very confused to find you outside taking pictures of their home. So when you embark on your own anime expedition, just use common sense, and do not under any circumstances try to enter a high, middle, or most importantly elementary school, or you will be promptly arrested. And rightfully so. That is, of course, unless they've embraced weebdom and set themselves up as tourist attractions the way the schools from Non-Non-Biori and most notably Keion have. In Keion's case, the Toyosato Elementary School that the anime was based on is no longer even a working school, and instead has been converted into a Keion museum full of props and merchandise from the show. The entire town of Toyosato has even gone so far as to model their traffic signs after members of HTT. This symbiotic relationship between anime creators gaining exposure from community-created content, fans stepping into the world of their favorite stories, and local governments driving tourism is perfectly exemplified by the success story of Eurocamp. The entire prefecture of Yamanashi has worked closely with the creators to encourage fans to come visit locations from the show, decorating trains, hotels, cafes, even going so far as to create an entire season of mini episodes dedicated to the Yamanashi stamp rally. There is an amazing official Eurocamp website with maps, guides, merch, scooters, and food, all dedicated to living out moments from the anime in real life. Which brings us back to here, when I had the amazing opportunity to visit the campsites from season 1. In case I haven't made it clear up until this point, this is more than just a niche hobby. In fact, in 2018, 4.6% of tourists claim to have visited anime-related locations. And that year alone, over 31 million people visited Japan, which means that 1.4 million of them were degenerates like us. When I first stepped off the airplane, I was very surprised to see posters on the airport walls advertising anime pilgrimage tours. And I think the mainstreamification of anime pilgrimage can be traced back to 2016, when Your Name became the second highest grossing anime film in the world, right behind Studio Ghibli's Spirited Away. I'm talking, of course, about the iconic staircase, which I think has to be the most visited anime location in history, drawing in huge crowds of fans, cosplayers, and celebrities, which is why I think it's no coincidence that also in 2016, the massive tourism company JTB teamed up with Japan Airlines to form the Anime Tourism Association, which every year publishes the best 88 anime locations to visit across Japan. And in 2019, they held their first Anime Tourism Chief Summit. And of course, the headlining speakers were from the Eurocamp team, because they, more than anyone, understand the power behind the thoughts and feelings that fans attach to these locations, and have found a way to make that benefit everyone. But these pilgrimages aren't just for tourists. There is a sizable and tight-knit community of location hunters in Japan dedicated to finding and sharing anime locations, because the exact spots aren't always advertised like in Eurocamp's case. Half the fun is using clues from the episode to try to scour Google Maps for the exact locations, which you can watch me do here. The feeling you get from stepping inside the stories that have had such an impact on you is universal. And in my opinion, anime pilgrimage isn't just about locations. It can take the form of fans being brought together to recreate the music, dances, scenarios, costumes, or even food. Anything that brings the spirit of the anime into the real world, which, speaking from experience, is a truly incredible feeling. Click here to enjoy my pilgrimage series, where I traveled all across Japan in search of anime locations. And if you have any questions about planning your own pilgrimage, let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.